What's up guys, it's Vampire Cat Productions here with another random video, and today I'm going to be doing 3 DIY phone tripod hacks. Now I know this isn't what I normally do for my videos, but because my original phone tripod holder got burned, this is all that's left of it, I haven't been able to really do videos lately, but I decided since this did happen to my phone tripod, I figured, why not come up with some DIY solutions? So the first and second hack are things that I actually found online, and the third but final hack is actually something that I completely came up with by myself. So the first hack is actually the easiest and cheapest to make, and that just includes a small box. I'm using a hair color box from my mom's hair color, so all you need is just a small box like this. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take this box, and like I said, this is super easy. What I'm going to do is here's my pocket knife. You're just going to take this first. All you need is just this box, some kind of knife maybe, and a pair of scissors like I've got here. So you're going to take the knife, and you're going to just punch. Now you can do it on the top, but I would do it on the side because it'll be a bit more sturdy. So you're just gonna, hold on, this box isn't super sturdy. You're just gonna take that and you're just gonna first start by puncturing the box. And then you're gonna take your scissors and you're just gonna kind of cut down the side. You don't want to cut too deep because, well, I kind of already screwed up right there, but you're just gonna, and you don't want to cut it too thick either because you want your phone to fit in there snugly, so just take that and then cut a nice little strip out of there. Come back over to the side you started on. And then try to go down to about the same depth that you went with the first side, just so that it's as even as possible. And then just peel that back. Again, this is not the most sturdy, but if you're on a super high budget, or like on a super low budget, I mean, and you can't really afford anything very much, this is about the cheapest thing you can do because you can use pretty much any box like this. So now we're going to take our stand and we're going to actually put our test phone into it. This isn't my phone, this is my dad's old phone, so we're just going to put this in here just for a test. And that actually is really surprisingly a good hole. Like, look at that. I'm actually surprised by it. I honestly didn't think this is going to be very good, but this is actually freaking amazing. Jesus. I did not expect to get this good of this is honestly my expression. Like, I honestly expected this just to be, like, really crappy, but this actually works really well. I think I would actually use this if I had to. So the second hack is actually still really inexpensive, and that's a plastic or paper cup. I prefer to use plastic just because this is a bit more sturdy than a paper cup. So what you're going to need for this is obviously a plastic or paper cup. Like I said, I prefer plastic. And a box cutter or a X-Acto knife, and some tape, and some rubber bands. So you're going to start by taking your cup and your box cutter or X-Acto knife, and you're just going to cut a nice, hold on, I don't want to force this through too much. Just kind of score across here until you penetrate the thing. Sometimes it's better to start this with like a knife or something to poke it through, because this is actually really thick plastic. Okay, so now we've got this in here. So you're just going to want to cut down the side a little bit. Again, you don't want to go too deep, just you don't want to be too shallow either, because if it's too shallow it won't get a good hold. But you want to just make sure you get a nice good depth, and then we're going to take it back, flip the cup around and take it down the other side. And then we're actually just going to score across the side of the cup, if I can get this in there. And then we're just going to go back up the cup with this. So I've actually decided that it might be easier to finish this off with a pair of scissors, but it's good to start it off with the X-Acto knife or the box cutter just because of how thick and hard the plastic is. So now that we have the top taken out of here, we've got that little strip taken out, I'm going to be taking a little bit of, what I'm using is electrical tape, but you can use any tape. I'm just using this because it's inexpensive. And because there was a little bit of a tear like in the plastic as I was cutting, I want to reinforce that with some of this, just to make sure that it extends the life of the tripod that I'm making. I guess you'd call it that. It's not really got 3 legs, but just take that tape, and that already made it a lot sturdier. I'm confident that it's not going to tear or be as likely to tear as it would have been. So what you're going to do next is you're going to take your box cutter, and not too far below where you cut the slit, you're going to take the box cutter or your, like I said, X-Acto knife. You're going to take your cutting tool, and you're just going to kind of bore a nice little hole in here on either side, just directly under the slit. So now this side, and again, not too close to the top because you don't want it to tear through. And now that you've got your 2 holes, you're going to take a couple of rubber bands. I'm using a rubber band ball, and we're going to do a little trick for some people who don't know. What we're going to do is we're going to take 2 of them. We're going to take rubber bands and hold them like this, and you're going to grab the first one like so, and then you're going to grab the other one like this, and then just simply pull them through like that, and then we're just going to feed them through the side of the cup. And like that, this tripod is done. So you just take your phone or whatever device you're using in here, and you just simply stretch these over the ends. Now, I will admit mine's actually a little bit uneven, but I can always go back and even it out a bit. But again, I actually think the other one was actually a bit more sturdy, but this one still is very good for the low budget. The final tripod project is a bit more complex and will take quite a bit more supplies than the other ones, but I think this should be a pretty good build. So what you're going to need for this is a wooden ruler, a cardboard box. My mom sells Avon, so I have access to a bunch of boxes. Rubber bands, a plastic water bottle, some scissors for cutting the cardboard, some tape. Again, I'm using electrical because it's cheap, but you can use any other kind of tape, duct tape, something maybe if you want it to be a bit more structurally sturdy, and some kind of hand saw to make it easier to cut your wooden ruler to size. You will also need hot glue and a box cutter. So first off, you're going to want to start by taking your box, and if your boxes are like mine, you can just peel the sides off. If you have some like traditional boxes, you will have to cut the side panel off. But basically just doing this makes it a lot easier to work with than trying to work with the whole box in the way. So what you're going to do next is you're going to want to cut out some strips of cardboard about, I'd say maybe an inch wide or so. Just cut out a few strips. So I have cut 4 roughly 8-inch strips of cardboard that are about roughly an inch and a quarter wide. So once you have these done, you will then want to go cut your ruler. So before you cut your ruler, you're going to want to start by measuring your phone. I'm using my phone to film this, so I can't actually measure it, but I measured it to be about 6 inches. And because this ruler is broken, I'm going to be cutting from 4 to 10 inches. And the nice thing about rulers is that they've already got the markings on them, so it's really easy to measure it before cutting it. So if you've got the supplies to do so, take your ruler to your vise and just, you don't want to secure it too tightly because this is a soft wood, so it will make an impression if you put it on here too tight. And you're just going to want to simply take your handsaw, or if you have some kind of table saw, you can use that. And don't be worried if you don't have the tools. You can use scissors, but this is better because then you don't have to destroy your scissors if it's really hard to cut. So it'll take a little bit to get going in this, especially because it's so flimsy. But once you get going, that's pretty easy once you get going with. So we're just going to take this out of the vise and just quickly flip it around and repeat the process. And like that, I've got my ruler cut. Now, if you have rough edges on your wood like I do, you're going to want to take those off. So what you want to do, like I'm doing, is take a file first and just get off the worst of it. Just take like this, like a construction file, kind of like this kind of woodworking file, and just get the worst of the rough spots off. And then once you have those stuff off, just take maybe some like lightly used sandpaper and just smooth out the edges, and maybe even smooth the corners. Real quick, I just want to apologize if there's any extra noise. I had to turn a fan on because it's like 92 degrees out. So you're now going to want to take 2 of your pieces of cardboard, and you're going to want to do like I've done, and you're going to want to kind of fold them and match them up so that you can see and make sure that the corners are going to, like when it folds, it'll cradle the bottom corners of the phone. So once you've got your 2 pieces of cardboard folded, you're going to take them and you're going to put some hot glue on here and just hot glue these together. I prefer getting the base hot glued and then worry about hot gluing the flaps. Now what I really like about applying the glue like this is it also, because of how the cardboard shifts when you fold it, it'll help keep the support corner like in place pretty well like this. Like look at that, that's actually like as opposed to that, that's just like kind of falling back down. So I just want to wait and make sure that these are nice and cooled down and that the glue has cooled before going over to the other side. So once you've got your cardboard like this, you're going to want to take your box cutter and you're just going to want to cut little slits in each of these corners about the width of your phone so that your phone will be cradled in it. I don't have my phone, but this phone is actually about roughly the same size as my phone, so that's what I'm going to be using as a reference. So my phone died and I ended up not getting this process like filmed, but here's what it looks like with the slits cut. I have them cut down right to the bend so that it sits flat on here. And I also reinforced each of these ends with hot glue. I just took the hot glue and just kind of like made a nice little coat at these ends and also down into there to get a nice reinforcement, and I did that on both sides. That way this will hold when you put the rubber bands on it. So the next step will be to glue this piece onto your ruler, and some of you might be wondering why I need the ruler if I have this double layered. While this is pretty sturdy as it is right now, I still want to have an extra layer of strength. So just put a nice line of hot glue on here. Don't be shy with the hot glue. It's rather inexpensive. It's not as inexpensive as, say, electrical tape, but it's still an inexpensive commodity. And then just take this, and you're just going to want to run down the sides on either side of it so that you get max strength out of this. Now you're going to want to take one of your cardboard strips that you have cut, and you're going to want to cut about four roughly 2-inch wide rectangles out of it, and I'm going to use the same one actually as a reference. And now that you've got your little rectangles cut out, you're going to want to cut slits that are about the same size as what you have in your bottom cradle. So once you've got your little rectangles cut out, you're going to want to do as I did with this piece and reinforce them with hot glue. So we're just going to go for each side. And these are a bit thicker towards the ends, so you shouldn't have to worry about this too much, but it's still a good little practice to do. Quick little reminder, people. Hot glue is hot as the name would suggest, so be extremely careful with it. So once you've got your pieces reinforced, you're going to want to just make a nice little border around each piece with hot glue, or one of the pieces, I mean. You don't need to glue both sides because they're just going to go together. And just stick them together like so. And repeat that with these ones. So for the next step, you're going to want to take 3 rubber bands, and with the first 2, you're going to take them and you're going to use some tape to tape them onto each end of here. So that's one side, and there is side 2. And I actually just remembered, for anyone who's wondering what happened to my finger, I actually ended up cutting it on a big heavy metal wheel plate. It was basically used for running some a belt on some machinery, and it had a sharp edge on it, and I ended up cutting my finger on it. So the next step is to tape each of these pieces onto one of the rubber bands. And I want to apologize for not doing very much on camera, but it's really hard to work when your finger is messed up. And now after you have these 2 pieces glued on, you're going to want to use your 3rd rubber band and put these 2 pieces together. Okay guys, I want to give a real quick apology right now. There is a slight change to this because I just realized that there is not enough elasticity to this by itself. So I ended up having to take the rubber band, fold it down under over here, and then take some tape and wrap it up around here. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to take another wrap of tape and just wrap it around here, because basically I just flipped this under here and more or less and wrapped the tape around there. So I'm going to do that once more before flipping it over. Again, sorry guys. This is a trial and error thing for me, and I actually haven't built this before. And keep in mind when you are taping around there, make sure not to cover up the little gaps where the phone falls into. So this right here is how the phone fits in here. It was a little tricky for me to figure this out just because of my finger kind of messing me up, but this is how it fits. But of course we are not done, because I am now going to attach this to the top of this water bottle. So first off, ignore the fact that I'm doing this. I am out of hot glue, so I actually have to use a screwdriver to push the stuff into the machine. But you just put a nice layer on top of the lid, like so. And of course you set it on just like I just did. So I'm just using this to basically dunk some more glue out just to kind of get the edges. Now normally you're going to just run the glue on here with the glue machine like this, but I can't find my glue sticks right now, so I just had to do this. And quick tip, if you make sure to glue it on in a way that doesn't keep the cap stuck on, you can actually take this off and fill this with water so it'll be more sturdy. So to insert the phone, you just flip these like so. And it's a bit easier when you can have use of both your hands, but you just slip this into the gaps right here, flip these back on, and voila! Ta-da! That's your new case. And like I said earlier, this was a bit of a trial and error thing for me, so I thank you guys for sticking through to the end of the video, even though it was kind of a mess. So this right here is the finished product. I know it doesn't look like much, but like I said, this was a little bit of a trial and error thing. I just made this thing right here for the camera. There was no like pre-builds or anything, which probably if I do another thing like this, I will definitely do some drafts before making a video on it. But regardless, I still hope you guys enjoyed this. And also, if you have any tips to make this design better, please leave them down in the comments below, because I really want to hear any ways that I can improve this design to be more practical and better built. Also, if you are new to this channel, I would appreciate it so much if you would subscribe. It would really make my day. And with that being said, guys, I'll see you later. Bye. One last thing, guys. If I had to choose which one of these I would use most, it would either be probably the first one I built or the second one I built. My original design, I'm gonna probably use this still, but I mean, with how it's built, I mean, it's not the greatest build, so I might do a second draft, and if I do, I will definitely do another video on my improved version of this.